It all started on a muggy Saturday afternoon in July, the kind where even the birds seemed too exhausted to chirp. I had just moved into a quaint HOA-governed suburb called Maple Glen, a neighborhood that wore its silence like a badge of honor and kept its lawns sharper than its morals. As a 30-year-old software developer and a first-time homeowner, I was thrilled to finally have a backyard and a grill. My friends, Chris, Malik, and Deshaun, guys I'd known since college, were coming over to celebrate. We hadn't seen each other in months, and all we wanted was to grill some burgers, blast a little old-school hip-hop, and reminisce about our broke college days. What none of us realized was that we were about to step into a storm far uglier than any weather map could predict. Just 20 minutes into the gathering, as laughter filled the air and smoke curled upward from the grill, I noticed a woman standing across the street peeking from behind her curtains. At first, I thought nothing of it. Neighborhood curiosity, maybe even nosiness, was part of the suburban starter pack. But then my phone buzzed, a message from my HOA contact. Please be advised that loud music and unregistered guests are violations. This is a warning. Unregistered guests? I blinked, confused. Then I saw her. Karen. Blonde bob cut, yoga pants, HOA clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, marching across the street like she was auditioning for a reality show titled Suburban Snitch Squad. "Excuse me," she shouted, not even looking at me, but at my friends. "This is a private community. Who are they?" My friends turned slowly, stunned by the question. "They're my guests," I said calmly, stepping in. "This is my property." She didn't even blink. "I've already called the police. You're disturbing the peace, and they don't look like they belong here." That last line punched the air out of my lungs. Malik chuckled in disbelief. "You serious?" Chris pulled out his phone and began recording. "You're going viral today," he muttered. 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up. The officer, clearly embarrassed, apologized once he realized there was no disturbance, no crime, and definitely no threat. "We got a call about suspicious activity," he said, glancing at Karen, who now stood behind a hedge, arms crossed, watching us like a hawk denied her prey. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something inside me boiled. This wasn't just about noise complaints or HOA rules. This was racial profiling, wrapped in pastel housing paint and petty power. And Karen had done it before, I learned. A Latino couple 2 doors down had left the neighborhood after too many complaints. An Asian family had reportedly been fined for putting up cultural decorations. Karen had a pattern, and I had proof. Over the next week, I collected everything. Camera footage from my security system, Chris's recording, even snippets of Karen yelling at the patrol officer after he refused to arrest us. I contacted a local news station that had a reputation for exposing HOA injustices. At first, the producer was skeptical, but when I sent the footage, her tone shifted fast. "Can we interview you?" she asked. "Live segment. Prime time." I hesitated for a moment. Going public meant making enemies, maybe even lawsuits. But my gut said this needed to be bigger than me. The next Thursday, I sat under blinding lights, a mic clipped to my collar, and told our story. They played the footage. Karen's voice echoed through the studio. "They don't belong here." The silence that followed was volcanic. Comments flooded in. People were outraged. That same night, Karen's name trended online. A petition started to have her removed from the HOA board. Reporters camped outside her house. But she wasn't going down without a fight. 2 days later, I received a cease and desist letter from her lawyer, claiming defamation and invasion of privacy. "She's scared," said the news producer. "You exposed her." The letter was a bluff. Legally, I was covered. Everything was recorded on my property or in public. But Karen wasn't finished. One evening, I found my trash bins knocked over, my mail tampered with, and the word liar written in chalk on my driveway. I installed more cameras, filed police reports, and stayed calm. The community, however, had turned. Other neighbors came forward with their own stories. One woman admitted Karen fined her $250 for hanging wind chimes. A teenager confessed that Karen once told him to go back to the ghetto after he skateboarded past her yard. The HOA called an emergency meeting. That night, over 100 residents packed into the clubhouse, tension thick as tar. Karen was there, tight-lipped, arms folded. When I was invited to speak, I simply played the news segment on a projector. When it ended, no one clapped, no one booed, just silence, and then a single voice. "She's gotta go." The vote was unanimous. Karen was removed from the board. But the story didn't end there. A national talk show picked up the story. They flew me and my friends out to New York. We shared our experience, and people across the country began to share theirs. Racism in suburbia wasn't just real. It was thriving behind white fences and HOA bylaws. The exposure sparked a movement. Petitions were created to require diversity training for HOA boards. A local lawmaker introduced a bill to prevent HOA abuse. Karen's face became the symbol of everything wrong with entitled neighborhood power. As for her, she moved out 6 weeks later, her house quietly sold to a mixed-race couple. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about that day, about how a barbecue, a phone call, and a few cameras shattered the glass bubble she lived in. But I don't regret a thing. What started as a casual summer hangout turned into a nationwide conversation. And all it took was one Karen, one lie, and one truth too powerful to bury.